live stream here from the homestead. Would you mind turning the lights on, Tom, or someone? I'm in the dark. I hope you're all well. How are you all doing? Hope you've had a good week. That's better. Excuse me, I'm still just finishing up some crackers and cheese I was having. It's been, as always, a busy morning. Sorry about the slight reduction in quantity of videos this week. It's just, well, you know the deal. It's just been really, just move the camera, really busy, and I haven't had too much time, but hopefully it's not been too much of a detriment to you guys. There we go. So, yeah, here we are. I had some great news this week. You've probably already seen in the video that got posted yesterday that we've got a solution for our sow and the piglets. We know where she's going now, and that's a weight off my mind. That's fantastic. So we've got like a clear picture of how the whole story of us having pigs here is now going to end, and it ends well, and you know, with a really satisfying result. So I'm really happy about that. One of the things that has been, you know, really playing on my mind over the last few weeks is how we were going to resolve that. And I'm not the sort of person who gets bogged down in what ifs, and I don't tend to worry too much. You know, I deal with the situation at hand, and I deal with the present moment and just go forward and you know, try and make the best decisions I can in the moment. But, you know, I'd be lying if I said that that wasn't something that was, you know, in my mind as a bit of a concern. So it's just a huge relief that that's kind of at the stage now where, you know, we've got a solution for it, and we're, you know, we've got a plan, and it's just a case now of getting it all moving. Hello, Emma McPherson. Thank you for joining me, and hello, Pesky Chicken. And thank you for your kind words there. Yeah, no, I'm really happy it worked out as well. It's fantastic. So I'm sure most of you already know, but for those of you who don't, we've basically got an acquaintance. I wouldn't even go so far as to call them friends. We don't know them particularly well, but there's people who used to keep pigs, and their pigs were the pigs that we looked after here first, our first set of pigs here. And they've got a bit of land that's barren that they used to keep pigs in. It's got nothing in it at the moment. So we've arranged that we're going to just keep our female there with her piglets until they're weaned, and then we can sell them. So, you know, financially it makes sense, and animal welfare, it makes sense. And just everybody comes out where they want to be. So, yeah, I'm super happy. Sorry about my hair. My hair is just a ridiculous state all the time at the moment. Hello, Elliot Hughes. Thank you for joining us. And hello, Jeff and Deb Shipton. Thank you for joining us as well, all the way over from Australia. So, yeah, that's been the story of my week, really, has been that. You know, that's what's punctuated my week, and I'm super happy with it. I haven't been able to do very much in the garden other than that because I've just been so busy at work and with other commitments. Those of you who, you know, well, those of you who have any connection at all with us here in England will know that the England football team are in the final of a massive tournament. And if you're outside of Europe, you probably already know anyway, but you know, you might not be able to quite get a sense for exactly how big a deal it is here. It is massive. Now, not everybody follows sport, not everybody follows football, not everybody follows the national team, but almost everyone, and certainly everyone I know. It's a huge deal, and that's it's fantastic. And it's what's lovely about it as well is that we have, as a nation, the UK, and I accept, you know, not all of the UK is in this football final, it's just England, but the UK as a whole has been really dealt with quite a lot of division over the last few years. With Brexit, we had a vote whether or not to leave the European Union. It's all very political. I try to be apolitical both here and on the podcast, so I'm not going to talk about that much. But, you know, it was a very close vote with massive implications, and it led to a lot of division within the UK, and of course England is a part of the UK, so it led to a lot of division within England. Then we had coronavirus and the lockdowns and all of the feelings of being lonely and insular, and everybody kind of withdrawing into their own bubbles. And to have this tournament and the football team do what they've done and get to the final has really sort of, it feels like it's bringing the nation back together. And it's just it's a fantastic thing. You can't go anywhere without people, talking about it, or, there's just a vibe here. So just a few comments. Elliot Hughes, come on England. Emma McPherson, I'll have to catch up on your videos. Jeff and Deb Shipton. Jeff is very nervous. Jeff moved to Australia as a child, I believe, and he's actually from England. I'm incredibly nervous. The final is actually, Emma McPherson writes, I think the Martians know. So yeah, it is a pretty, from where I'm sat, from this seat, wherever I look, it's a pretty big deal. But yeah, the final is this evening, and I am going to go back outside actually after this live, because I've been doing some stuff this morning, which I'll talk to you about in a second. And I'm going to go and finish some of the things I've started, but I am probably going to settle down and start watching some of the highlights and the build up and all of that really early. I'm probably going to have a really lazy afternoon and evening. I don't drink, so I don't have to worry about it ruining my day tomorrow. But yeah, that's I'm really quite looking forward to it. Vicky Parnaby, hello. It's just me today as Mark is at B school. That's fantastic. So Vicky and Mark follow the podcast as well. I know that much, the Parnabys. And Vicky was actually a guest on last Wednesday's show. And I think I'm right in saying, and Vicky, you can correct me, but I think I'm right in saying that this channel and the podcast was, at least partly responsible for encouraging the route into bees there, and the reason that Mark's at B school. So I'm really thrilled and proud of that. Emma McPherson says, I have bees, and then she says, and they hate me. Oh no. So why do they hate you? Have you been stung lots of times, or are you allergic? Sam Tancock writes, I want bees, and Vicky has just confirmed that I am totally responsible. How awesome. Well, I assume that's awesome. So what I've been doing in the garden today, I've been hedge trimming. My wife's been incredibly busy. Jeff and Deb say that they really enjoyed my interview with Vicky. Thank you. And it's nice that she can see that here as well. And Emma says they left the hive and swarmed next door. Oh, nightmare! So did you have an established colony that all up and left, or you just had half of them up and left? It'd be interesting to know the story behind that. Have you got them back? Yeah. So outside today, they've got them back. Great. Okay. So today I've been hedge trimming mainly. We've done a lot of hedge trimming, and we've separated that into piles, which is like goat food. So we've got a day's worth in lots of different piles. And my son Rockers has actually done that. He's trying to earn some points, which is awesome. And I'll talk about our point system in a minute for those of you who aren't familiar with it. So he's now tidying it all up for me, which is brilliant. I've just done the cutting, and then I've gone and carried on weeding my strawberry bed, which is almost finished now, and starting to look the part. So it's been a fairly productive morning, and like I said, I'm going to go out and finish a bit more out there when I'm done in here. So just to follow up on that bee story, the Emma McPherson, she said they left the hive and swarmed next door. Thankfully, her husband is a beekeeper and got them back to her, and I think, and then you got another swarm on Friday. So is that a swarm you had leave, or you've captured another swarm? I'm not sure. Anyway, so one of the things I wanted to ask you guys today, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. One is, what videos do you want to see? I've had a couple of requests recently in the last, 48 hours or so. Someone wanted, and one thing I must say, and this goes for my whole channel and my whole life, not just here on YouTube, I'm awful at remembering people's names. please don't take it personally, and please don't hold it against me, because it's not a personal thing. I'm just awful with names. It takes me a lot of repetitions to learn people's names, even when I meet them face to face. I'm really good with faces, but I'm awful with names. So if I mention a comment that you might have left for me and I can't remember your name, please don't take it personally. So yeah, I've had a couple of requests for videos, and one of them was for an updated version of my sourdough making, because obviously when I did the initial one, it was kind of my first go at it. And although the recipe hasn't changed, I've made a few tweaks to my setup and how I do things here. So I've been asked for, yeah, you know, a couple of or an updated video on that, or of where we are now, and I will definitely do that hopefully next weekend, because the sourdough making is something I feel like I've really got down. I'm not someone who, I don't experiment a great deal anymore. I've got what works for me, and I'm really, really happy with it. And the other one was a request for my wife's flapjack recipe. So I'll be doing a video on that, because we make our own flapjacks. We call them cereal bars, because that's what they replace in our family's diet. Now, if you've got kids, you know, and I mentioned this in yesterday's video, but you know, if you've got kids, you'll probably know how important these cereal bars are. And they make great snacks, they make great school lunches, they make great breakfasts, and obviously we make our own. We do buy the oats and, you know, some of the ingredients, but generally, you know, we are making them ourselves, and it's so much cheaper than buying them. Shannon Ward writes, just more videos. Understood. And that's right. So to clear everything up with the bees, they were a swarm I got on Friday. They left on Saturday. I got them back, and they're now in the hive. So all of the things that I said were all true. Oh, well, that's brilliant. So they swarmed, you got them in the hive, but they weren't established in the hive. Swarmed again, you got them back. Sounds great. Vicky Parnaby writes, cockadoo is currently in the oven. There were lots of tears over his departure. So Vicky is, you know, as you'll know if you listen to the podcast, she's raising a lot of small livestock, ducks, chickens, rabbits for meat, and has got one that I know was very emotional for you, Vicky, wasn't it? You actually sent me a little message saying that there were lots and lots of tears, and I think that's because he'd become a bit of a pet, hadn't he, with your kids as well. But anyway, you've finally done it, so that's great news, and I, for one, am very, very proud of you. My Jackie writes, and dates. Can you clarify what you mean by that, love? I'm a little bit confused. And Emma McPhist says, your first hive. That's fantastic, and you'll find by this time next year, you'll have at least 5, is my recommendation. Understood, Sam. Thank you very much. An idiot's guide to electric fencing on a battery would be useful for the future goats. Will do. And any videos, you are the smiliest YouTuber I watch, so anything. And yes, please do Jackie's recipes. I'm the smiliest YouTuber you watch. That's definitely a compliment, I think. And yeah, so I'll definitely be doing those sort of recipe type videos in the next few days as soon as I can. Exciting news as well for me for tomorrow. I'm actually leading a foraging course, a foraging walk, and 3 of the people coming are people who have found me through this channel, and they're not from the local area, but they're staying down here with friends, and they've booked some slots on the foraging walk. So we're going to be doing that first thing tomorrow morning, and then they're going to come back here and they're going to get to meet Sid and have a look around. So I'm really looking forward to that. Genuinely, really, really looking forward to it. So as for the rest of today, like I say, not a great deal planned beyond a few more hours in the garden. Come on in, son, it's the kitchen, you're allowed to walk through. You're all right, buddy. And then watch the football. So I don't know, I'm guessing there's quite a lot of you that are supporting England. I don't know that any of you are supporting Italy. I don't know that I have any Italians here. But Emma McPherson writes, she's jealous. You're jealous of the not coming on the walk tomorrow. Well, if any of you guys ever find yourself in the southwest of England, then make sure you get in touch, because there's all sorts of things we're doing here all the time. So yeah, make sure you do reach out. So the second question, so the first question was, have you got any requests for videos? And I've had 3. The second one is, what sort of videos do you prefer? Because I make so many different types of videos, and it's really, sometimes, I won't lie, sometimes I kind of, even though I've got the time, I think I'm not really sure that what I'm doing is relevant, or that I've got an idea for a video that's going to be captivating, or an idea for a video that's going to be something that you guys want to see. The last thing I want to do, so I've got this fight that goes on in my head all the time, and it's a fight between, over here, I really, really like the idea of producing and publishing a video every single day. I love that idea. They don't have to be very long. And I like that idea for several reasons. One is because I have a very addictive personality, and habit forming is very important to me. And if I'm in that habit, then it's a habit that I find easy to carry on. And so that's really useful for me as a tool. But secondly, the channel just grows so much quicker. I get more subscribers and more views and all these things when I'm releasing daily videos. So it works quite well. But then on the other hand, I'm super, super conscious that I don't want to be spamming people's feeds and, just producing content for the sake of producing it. And, it would be really easy for me to produce a daily video where, all the time it was just me getting home from work and milking the goats, because that's something I do every day. But no one's going to want to see that every day. And I'm not quite that boring. There are other things I do as well, but, you get the idea. So, I'd love to hear what sort of videos you really enjoy watching and would like more of, versus, and which ones you don't, which ones would you, not mourn the loss of, because it's really useful for me to help me guide the channel, where it goes. Guido Fawkes. Hello, Carl. A bit late to the party. Hey, Guido. So glad you could join me. And I'm sure you're really excited about tonight's game. Shannon says, I'll try and find myself one day, there one day. That'd be awesome, Shannon, mate. If one day you do get yourself around the world, then definitely hit me up. Elliot Hughes, maybe a daily update in September. 100%. So in September, I'm really, really excited about September. Really excited about it. And, I really want it to be a celebration of the food that you can produce yourself. I don't want it to be, a trial. It's not supposed to be, these are the battles I'm having, and these are the points I'm suffering, and these are the problems I'm facing. There'll be an element of that to it, of course. But what I want it to be really is, look what you can do without having to go to a shop. I want it to be an absolute celebration of what we can make. And in September, absolutely, I'll be doing daily videos, and hopefully what I'll be able to do is, like, at the end of each day, I'll be able to share with you exactly the food that I've produced and eaten that day. And what I'm hoping I can do is, over the course of the whole month, I'm hoping I can sort of catalogue all of the raw ingredients, and then we can sort of look at that and dissect it as in, an entire month's worth, because I think it's going to be really interesting to see things like honey, and, how much honey I get through with things like yogurts and ice creams, where I'm going to be using honey as the flavoring instead of sugar, and things like, what's the word? It's escaped me. A pickle. Pickled courgettes and chutney. There you go. That's the word. Chutneys. How much sugar I'm going to be using in there, or rather honey in place of sugar I'll be using in things like that. So yeah, it'd be really interesting. Emma McPherson writes, I might support Italy just to be awkward. I don't know what to say to that, Emma. And yeah, everyone, like a million people, saying that Elliot's idea was a good one, of the daily updates in September. Like I said, that's 100% going to be happening. Sam Tancott writes, I like the current variety and would watch videos up to 15 minutes every day. Awesome. Jeff and Deb Shipton, we like all styles, and it's probably good to mix it up a bit. Shannon Ward says, I'm looking forward to maybe a day 3 no coffee rant. So here's the thing. I'm basically off caffeine already. So I'm still drinking decaf, but we ran out of. So we for the longest time, for our whole lives, I've drunk caffeinated coffee, and I'm not a coffee snob, but I also really enjoy, real coffee, proper coffee. So like for my birthday and Christmas, I might get a packet of really special coffee or something, and I might have 6 or 7 cups of that, over the course of a month. Anyway, I made the decision just to go back, as you guys will know, and this is all in preparation of September, to cut back basically to 1 caffeinated coffee a day in the morning. So we had our decaf coffee, and next to that another, we've got tea, coffee, and sugar pots. Is that something? Is that worldwide? Does every kitchen around the world have a pot for tea, 1 for coffee, and 1 for sugar next to the kettle, or is that just in England? Anyway, we have tea, coffee, sugar. We don't drink tea here, but we keep tea bags in there for when we have guests, and the coffee, obviously. And we've always used sweeteners. We don't use sugar. So instead of having sugar in the sugar, we have our actual caffeinated coffee in there. So in the morning, 1 cup of caffeinated coffee would be the first coffee I'd have every day, and then I'd switch to decaf. Anyway, we ran out of the caffeinated coffee, I don't know, a week or so ago, a bit longer than that maybe, and my wife, who is a genius, didn't tell me, and she makes the first coffee of the day. So I went 2 or 3 days without even realizing, which is brilliant. It's like when you're riding a bike and you turn around and your mum's not holding you anymore and you didn't even know. And just like that, you've learned how to ride a bike. Fantastic. So, so I've now been at home 100% decaf for well over a week. I have had the odd caffeinated coffee when I've been at work though, but I'm almost there. So I don't think come September I'm going to be having that day 3 no coffee rant. That's the plan. And my wife said to me, she said, why don't you just, because she knows I love coffee, and I have had a couple of mini rants in the last few days, but she said, why don't you just drink coffee, and just cut it out in September, rather than having like 3 months of misery, have 1 month. That was her interpretation. And I said, well, but the thing is, once I've kicked it, and I doubt very much that I'll go back. If I get all the way through September without having any caffeine, there's really very little chance I'll go back to it. So, and I'm hoping I'm going to be through that, but before September even starts, so that'll make it even easier. Emma McPherson writes, I'd offer you some honey, but my bees hate me. I think I'm going to be okay for honey. So I've got a chap locally who will swap honey with me for goat's cheese. So that works really well. And I am going to be taking some honey off one of my hives in the next few weeks, all things being well. Jeff and Deb Shipton, we're off now. Carl, got to get up early to catch a bit of the football before work. Come on, England. Good night, everybody out there, and awesome. And fingers crossed. And yes, in Australia, tea, coffee, sugar. Guido Fawkes, I bet September is rushing towards you a bit fast. Do you feel you are ready for it? That's a great question. And you can, if you ask me that question at 10 different times throughout the day, I might change my mind every time. There are times when I feel that I'm 100% ready for it, and I've been ready for it for a long time. And then there are times when I think, oh, I haven't solved that problem yet. I wish I'd spent a bit more time thinking of it. But I think, honestly, I'm ready. I think, so there are a few things I want to practice. I want to practice making my own pasta. So that'll be another video coming up. Things like that, I haven't quite done enough of yet, but there's still time. But, I could do it now because I've got my staples, in place. I'm going to be able to eat nice food right the way through. At the moment, my concerns are that my diet becomes a bit boring, and that I'm going to miss some of the exciting flavors, that some things are going to just get a little bit bland. But that's very much a take from a 21st century first world adult, because I think a lot of that will come from how our palates have been changed, and or what we're used to. We're very, very used to eating really high sugar, really high fat foods, and we're really, really used to that. And I think I'm probably less used to it than some, because or when I say I'm less used to it than some, what I mean by that is I tend to eat slightly more sort of pared back meals more frequently than a lot of people, because we don't really eat a lot of processed food, and we don't eat a lot of ready meals and things like that. So even things that I do eat here, like spaghetti bolognese and things like that, we make all of our stuff from scratch, all of our sauces and stuff. So that's I think that'll be less of an issue for me than it might some. Just had a few comments here. Emma McPherson, I've cut down on the coffee, 1 cup in the morning and then a herbal tea from the garden for the rest of the day. Perfect. Brilliant. And you're dehydrating plants for tea in the winter. That's brilliant as well. And dehydrating is a huge part of what we do here to save stuff. And she follows up by writing, have you tried dehydrating radish yet? Yes, I have. And I actually filmed a bit about this, but the file was corrupted, so I didn't end up making it into a video. But Emma McPherson gave me this idea for pepper, and as a pepper replacement. There are all sorts of ideas I already had. Now, talking about pepper specifically, just for a second, I did a podcast that covered this in a bit of detail. I'm not going to go into that much depth, but basically there are some peppercorns you can grow in this country. Too late for me for September, but some Szechuan peppers and things like that you can grow for the peppercorns. Fantastic. And that information's logged for, future use. Then there are some forageable items that I could use as a pepper replacement, one of which is shepherd's purse. Is a really common weed, and you save the sort of seeds, and they were used as a pepper replacement actually hundreds of years ago. And pepper dulse, the seaweed. Now I may still forage some of these things as well. We'll see how my time shakes out. But Emma gave me the idea of basically dehydrating radishes and grinding them up. And I have to say, it works fantastically. It really does. I'm so happy with it. It's not an exact for like pepper replacement, you need a bit more of it, but it's definitely got that peppery heat and feel to it, and yeah, it works really well. I know when I move around that the video is not quite as clear, but look, this was my little experiment, and that I've crushed that, and that is 100% going to be my my go-to. That's my starting point for radish, for pepper in September. Yeah, so I'm really, thank you so much for that idea. Where else are we? Mike the Caveman, good morning. What a nice surprise. Good morning, Mike. And he says, good morning / good evening, everyone. Shannon Ward writes, are you still considering the army of turkeys, mate? 100%, yes, I am. But it's not something so basically, if we buy young birds now, they may or may not get there for Christmas. We're not really worried about that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I'm not in a rush. We'll get the pigs sorted, and then we'll take a breath. We'll probably take a breath. And we'll probably, or I will certainly, spend a week or two really enjoying that little bit of extra time I've got, because we've got a pretty good pig system. They don't require a great deal of time, but they do require time. So, 3 or 4 times a week, I'm devoting an hour or 2 to going out and collecting feed and all that kind of stuff and moving the feed around. And then about 20 minutes a day in, food and water for them between me and my wife. So I'm probably just going to enjoy not having that for a week or 2. And then we'll probably go up and have a look at the wood, work out what we're going to do to fox-proof certain parts of it. And then we'll go and make the jump and get those turkeys. So, yeah, Emma McPherson writes, got some shepherd's purse in the garden. I don't have any here. It's crazy. Emma McPherson writes, to be fair, you gave me the idea when you said radish becomes too peppery in the summer. Oh, well, there you go. That's a nice bit of symbiotic thinking there. But yeah, no, so Well, I'm actually growing radish for exactly that reason. And we wouldn't normally grow radishes from now through till early September, depending on the temperature, because when it gets too hot and too sunny, the radishes get really, really, too hot. And I love spicy food, but there's just no fun. There's no fun in a radish that's that hot. And so, yeah, we tend to stop growing them. But I'm growing some right now with the express purpose of grinding them up and using them as that pepper replacement. So yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm really excited to have found that. It's great. And what I did, if anyone's interested, I'll give you a quick tip. They take a really long time to dehydrate. I think I left them overnight and then all the following day. So if you're going to do it, take the time to slice them paper thin if you possibly can, when you get them in the dehydrator, because you'll also find it easier then to crush them up as well. But it's, yeah, no, what a great little tip. Anyone else got any other little tips for things that I can use in September as different ways of spicing up my food? I'm all ears. Obviously, we're going to have lots of chilies. We're going to have lots of, I've already got a load of chilies still from last year, which are dried. So, things like chilies and garlic, we're good for. I wish that I'd grown some ginger, but I didn't. And I wish that I had saved more magnolia petals and magnolia blossom buds. I don't know what you call them, that bit. But I wish I'd saved more of them because they're really gingery. But I'm trying to think what else, because that gives you sort of your Chinese flavors. I'm covered for salt, obviously. I might have to make another trip to the sea, actually. Another thing I want to do is get out and get fishing. I want to get down. We are absolutely blessed here in the southwest UK. There's a beach called Chesil Beach, and it's a massive a spit, basically, that's several miles long in a straight line, a big bank of stones. And it's prolific for mackerel fishing, and you can cast for mackerel off the beach. And if you're lucky, you'll bring in, it's not unheard of to bring in 50 mackerel in an hour. Now, that you're not guaranteed. The last 3 times I've been down there, I didn't catch a thing, or I might have caught like 3 fish. But when they're in, right up close to the shore, then, you can't help but catch them. And I'm really hoping that I can go down there and get a nice big haul of mackerel, because having them in my freezer for September it's just going to add a whole new variety and flavor to my diet, which I'm otherwise not going to get. So hopefully I'll get a chance to do that. I'm definitely in September, because August and September is going to be one of the best times to do it. I'm going to be making my way up to the river and catching some crayfish. So there'll be a couple of crayfish meals, and obviously there'll be lots of vegetarian type meals as well. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm a big carnivore. I eat meat with most meals. But as you guys will know, I'm quite big on how it's raised and, my environmental footprint and all those kinds of things. I take those concerns seriously. We don't eat a lot of shop bought meat here at all. But, we've got lots of cheese and courgettes and things that can form the centerpiece of a meal. I'm really, really excited about it, actually. And, I've always been an experimental cook. And I've always been, it doesn't really come across in a lot of my videos, because a lot of the stuff I'm doing is really pared down. But, I do a lot of the cooking for our family, and I'm pretty competent at a really wide range of cooking styles. I'm pretty good with Oriental flavors. I'm pretty good with Mexican flavors. They might not be authentic flavors. I've never been to these places and done any studying there, but I'm quite good at using herbs and using spices to get really nice results. And it'll be a great chance for me to experiment with some things that maybe I wouldn't have got the chance to do or thought to do otherwise, because I'm sure by sort of week 3, I'm going to be wanting to come up with some different ideas of stuff that perhaps, there are some really simple ones, aren't there? And there are some really simple, great ones that we can all do. So, I think scrambled eggs on sourdough toast with goat butter is going to be a staple. I'm probably going to have that every other day, maybe more, because it's simple. and easy and tasty, delicious, nutritious. So there's that. And then a lot of my, not all, but a lot of my main meals are going to be sort of meat, potatoes, and vegetable type dishes. We're going to have a tremendous amount of pork. We're going to have plenty of ham. We're going to have plenty of bacon. So, I think once I get into it, and once I get into, I've already mentioned pasta making. Once I get into that habit as well, all of a sudden you realize that perhaps you're not as constrained as you thought you were, because I can make basically a spaghetti carbonara with ham and chicken. And I can have ham and chicken. I can have the beautiful goat's cheese sauce and garlic and basil. And what are you missing there? Not a great deal, really, when you think about it. So, I think it might be a surprise to a lot of people, and I think it might be a surprise to me, the variety that I can come up with the constraints that I'm putting. What's key and what's interesting to me, and the reason I'm doing it, lots of people have done similar challenges. I haven't heard of anyone do a similar challenge in this climate where they are being quite so strict about things like herbs and spices and salt and pepper. And that's where it gets interesting to me. And that's where, for me, that's why I'm doing it. It's because I want to have my focus moved. I want to change what I'm looking at, and I want to start thinking about all these areas that I'm not self-sufficient in, not even close, but I probably don't think about. Because when I very first started the podcast, I remember starting it and thinking, I'm working towards self-sufficiency. Excuse me. I'm working towards self-sufficiency, and I'm fairly self-sufficient. And it wasn't until, and this was nearly 2 years ago now, I think, or a year and a half. And it wasn't until I started producing episodes talking about the individual areas that I realized how far from self-sufficient I was, food-wise I'm talking, just how big the gap was between where I was and where I thought I was. It was really quite surprising, because lots of people, lots of people think that, if you grow your own vegetables, you're kind of halfway there. And this is absolutely not a knock on people who grow their own vegetables. Goodness me. That's a massive thing to do, and it's brilliant, and everyone should do it, and I encourage everyone to do it. But I think what I'm trying to say is it's surprising how often we reach for something in the cupboard and we don't put any thought at all into where it's come from. And I'm not just talking about the food miles. I'm talking about, the whole process. There are things that we might use that are actually produced fairly locally, but we wouldn't have a clue how or where to start. I know that, sugar, white granulated sugar that we use here in the UK, most of it is actually produced from sugar beet, a relation of beetroots here in the UK. But it wasn't until I sort of looked into it for the sake of one of my podcast episodes that I realized that. I just assumed all of the white processed sugar was from sugar cane and it was shipped around the world. But even having learnt that, I still wouldn't have known how to go about doing it. And that's definitely something I'm going to try and have a bit of an experiment with next year. I've missed the boat this year on that. Just got a few comments here I wanted to read. Shannon Ward writes, just wanted to say thanks for your unsatisfying answer to my question on the podcast the other day. It's actually helped me look at it in a different way. I've planned my garden for spring and summer. So that's a bit of an in-joke if you haven't heard the podcast. So Shannon wrote to me and he asked, basically, what he wanted was a list of plants and number of plants that you need for a family of two to be self-sufficient. And I said, well, this is such a big topic, it lends itself far more to a podcast. And that was Friday's podcast, which I'm sure some of you will have heard. And basically, the point of that podcast, what I went on to say is there is no answer to that question because it depends on so many different variables. Everybody's different. Everybody has different diets, but also it depends on how prepared and able you are to preserve things. And there's just so much that goes into answering that question. He goes on to write, trying to become more self-sufficient in all vegetables I eat. So thanks, mate. You're very, very welcome. Guido Fawkes, is it just you or is the whole family doing self-sufficient September? It's just me because it's so extreme. And the rest of my family have slightly fussier palates than me, and including the 3 children. But obviously, I do a lot of the cooking, so there will be occasion when I'm only cooking for myself, but a lot of the time I'll be preparing meals for the whole family. So they'll all be partaking to some degree. But they're not being, strict with it. They're not taking packed lunch. Or saying that, they won't be at school, will they? Or no, they'll be back at school in September. So, they won't be taking packed lunches to school that have to fulfill these requirements and things. Mike the Caveman, we have other pepper weeds here, like shepherd's purse. Yeah, I did mention shepherd's purse. White sugar is hard to get away from, but yeah, there's ways. Yeah, white sugar, basically honey is the way I'm going. Now, there's a few things that I need to still deal with. There's a few I's to dot and T's to cross in that area, because things like crumble toppings. Now, if you just substitute out the sugar for honey, you're not going to get that texture. So, there's lots of examples of that I'm going to need to really have a think about. Emma McPherson, I'd like to be self-sufficient in veg, eggs, and honey by next year. Good luck. Good luck. That's fantastic. And you're just enjoying learning new skills. Me too. And that's a huge part of what I'm doing. So while there are goals and I'm definitely on a journey and it's moving in one direction, it's the process and the learning is what I really get the biggest kick out of. Shannon Ward, I learned that birds really like broccoli plants the other day. I've got a net now. Yeah, they do. And my brassicas have been hammered by the birds this year. Oats and honey as a crumble. Now, that's interesting. That's very basically the basis of our flapjacks I was talking about earlier. Mike the Caveman, we have 6 hens laying and have lots of eggs this summer. Awesome, Mike. And eggs are going to be a huge thing for me in September for sure. Now, eggs are something we are never, ever, ever going to worry about running out of. We sell a fair amount at the side of the road, but of course, if we need them, then we'll eat them ourselves. So I think for eggs, I'm really looking forward to, there's loads of, I will try and make some short crust pastry using the fat that we've rendered from our pigs. And I haven't even thought about a recipe for that yet. But if I can make some short crust pastry with fat from our pigs, then all of a sudden I can make quiches, and boom, that's a whole, there's the variety is limited only by your imagination, I think. That's what my daughter does. Yeah, good stuff. Mike the Caveman, we just got hens this year. Best eggs ever. Might be the hard work. Yeah, well, so one of the things that I'm actually going to do a podcast on at some point, I've got it on my little list of episode ideas, is, does homegrown food taste better? And, of course it does. But there's lots of different ways of thinking about it and getting into it. There are certain things where there's a really clear scientific reason why, certain plants, the second you detach a corn cob from the stalk, the sugars in it start turning to starches the second that you take it down. So, something like that, having it fresh, literally getting the boiling water going before you go and pick it, makes a big difference. And then there are other things when perhaps it doesn't make quite such a big difference. But there's also the feeling of satisfaction, which is kind of gives you a placebo of it tasting better. But placebos are real, they do genuinely work. So there's so many different ways that homegrown food tastes better. Shannon writes, nothing tastes better than fresh eggs from the backyard. Plus, they've had a good life too. Mike, I go crustless because I can't handle the grains, but I'm growing my own. It might be better. Sam, a low pressure phrase I learned was to opt out as opposed to self-sufficient. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Emma writes, you've reminded me that I have fat from the half pig I bought last year. Next thing is to learn how to render it. It's in the freezer at the moment. Awesome. Super simple as well. Last week, not last year, sorry. Sam Tancock goes on to say, I have opted out of supermarket eggs, salad and greens. Wooding in now for veggies to opt out of. Wooding in? I'm confused. Sorry. I think that's a typo and I've read it out loud. Sorry about that. Mike writes, if I can learn about the oats and wheat I'm growing would be good. Like when I do harvest it. Well, Mike, make sure that you fill me in, because that's something that I'm still, that's still on my list of stuff to try that I've never ever tried. Vicky writes, I'm preserving eggs in hydrolime for winter. When working out how many I need, I was shocked at how many I eat in a week. Yeah, and that's a great way of preserving them as well. And it's something I've never ever done. But if you go on our Facebook group, Vicky's done a post there talking all about it. Just a way of preserving eggs, which is just amazing. A video on fat processing and storing might be good. Sounds good. DSR IT training, welcome. How are you? Lots of great ideas today. Yeah, it's been an idea fest, hasn't it? So I'll just say now, actually, if you're coming on later, if you're not here live, but you're watching later, then please, make sure that you're leaving your comments down there as well in the comment box so that I can get all of your suggestions. Mike the Caveman, my rabbits are growing it as a cover crop. Leftover food in the bedding I put in the garden. That's brilliant. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to get through today. Unless you guys have got any more questions, we'll start drawing this to a close. But before I do, please do press that like button while you're still here, and if you're not already, then make sure you are subscribed to my channel, obviously. I think that's gonna wrap it up. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. As always, I'll be back next Sunday at 12. Shannon, yes, I believe it is coming home. I might be wrong though. I've been burned so many times, but yeah, I think it's happening. Come on, England, says Elliot. Yeah, well, that's going to wrap this one up. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys, and make sure you do all those good things, and I will speak to you really soon. Cheers.